Thanks for joining us for KVUE News at 5. I'm Mark Mullins. Ashley has the day off. Well, people in parts of the Hill Country are assessing the damage today and cleaning up after heavy rain triggered flooding. The Lower Colorado River Authority is still opening floodgates due to the heavy rain. So far, Starkey and Wirtz dams have both been opened to lower water levels and allow floodwaters to flow into other tributaries. At least 2 floodgates will be opened tomorrow at Mansfield Dam, and the LCRA says the Tom Miller Dam will open at some point today. We're also keeping a close eye on conditions along the Llano River this afternoon, giving you a live look from the riverbank. LCRA Hydromet shows the river is still in the flood stage near Junction, Mason, and Llano at this hour. A flood warning will be in effect for areas along the river through early Sunday. It is forecasted to crest at 25 feet at around 1 o'clock tomorrow morning. Now, this was the scene earlier today in Kerrville, where the Guadalupe River is still pretty high, as you see there. Residents in that area are clearing debris, repairing damaged roads, and assessing new damage that's been left behind. Officials say several streets remain heavily impacted. One bridge was washed out, which is limiting access to nearby homes. Officials say the flooding has claimed the lives of 2 people. One was a 74-year-old man, and the other was 65-year-old Mark Stewart of Kerrville. Eanes ISD confirms that he was a 1979 graduate of Westlake High School. Westlake Nation shared this yearbook photo of Stewart today and offered their condolences to his family. This afternoon in Uvalde, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a major disaster declaration for 28 counties that were hit hardest by flooding. That decision opens the door for federal aid. And while the worst of the rain has passed, the governor is warning that rivers will continue to rise due to the upstream runoff. This is what it looked like in Uvalde County, where a bridge collapsed over the Nueces River. The governor credited early warnings and a massive state rescue effort for saving lives, but urged residents to stay away from barricaded roads and flooded areas.
Listen, the worst of the rain is behind us. But, and very importantly, even though the worst of the rain is going to be behind us, for a while, as in for days, the rivers are going to continue to rise. Even if rain is not falling, because of the flow of water downstream, residents and leaders need to understand the rivers will still rise and still pose life-threatening danger.
So far, the Texas game wardens say they've rescued 147 people, evacuated 89, and helped to save 5 animals. Chief Meteorologist Hunter Williams joining us now to talk about what we can expect for the rest of the day and on into the weekend. A big change around, Hunter.
Yeah, well, as the governor was saying, the heavy rain risk has ended. However, that does not mean we are done with the river impact. So the weekend's going to be just kind of hot and totally dry, back to more of a typical summer pattern, but the Llano River still in flood stage. Now, let me show you the bigger picture. The Pedernales, which had that flash flood emergency yesterday, now down below flood stage, no longer causing any issues. What happened last night, though, is there was some more heavy rain out west around the Junction area. That went into the Llano River watershed and is sending another flood wave down the system. So I know it crested yesterday. It's going to crest again tonight. It will be even higher. That flood wave arriving in Mason now, and it will arrive in the Llano area later tonight into tomorrow morning. So let me give you the updated forecast. Again, that new flood wave is arriving in the Mason area now, expected to go into major flood stage there in the coming hours at about 31 feet. And then later on tonight, they're forecasting this around 1 a.m. or so, give or take. This is going to be another crest in Llano, and it's going to be about 5 feet higher than the crest yesterday. So if you were impacted by that one, this one is going to be a little bit higher. So factor that in, and it will take it into major flood stage. All those floodwaters coming down to Lake Travis. We're going to talk a lot more about this in detail coming up in my full forecast, but look at that. The elevation 680, less than a foot from full pool. It will be the first time Lake Travis has been 100% full since July of 2019. Much more on it coming up in my full forecast.
Incredible to see that number on the screen there, Hunter. We'll see in a little bit. These are pictures taken near the Pedernales River in Gillespie County. As the floodwaters recede in Fredericksburg, the focus is shifting to recovery now. KVUE's Jessica Cha has more about all that work ahead.
According to Fredericksburg city officials, crews rescued 30 people, 6 areas were evacuated, and fortunately no one was hurt or died. Sean Dory with the city says they got really lucky. Dory says crews were boots on the ground, going door to door to warn people in the early hours of Thursday, mainly in the Highway 16 South area, clearing out RV parks and performing air and car rescues. He says part of their success involved warning people about potential flooding days before it happened. And people took their warnings seriously, learning from the devastation floods caused last summer.
I think people have a heightened sense of awareness after last year, and so they listen now a little better than maybe previously. It's unfortunate that that had to happen, but we're also thankful we were able to protect lives here in Gillespie County and get people to safe ground who may have been in harm's way.
Dory asked that people have patience with them as crews work to determine what structures and roadways still need to be repaired after this huge flooding event. He says it will take time to repair them. In Fredericksburg, Jessica Cha, KVUE News.
And we will continue to keep you updated on any flood chances. The KVUE weather team has radar available for you 24/7 on our streaming app, KVUE Plus. It is free to download on your smart TV. Governor Greg Abbott has made his pick for the next Secretary of State. Robert Howden, one of his senior advisors, will take over for outgoing Secretary of State Jane Nelson. She is stepping down today after serving as the state's top election official for 3.5 years. KVUE's Daniel Perot joining us in studio with a closer look at who is set to take over that job now. Daniel.
Mark, the governor's announcement today puts an end to weeks of speculation over who would become the state's top voting official just months before the contentious midterm elections in November. Some local election officials say the governor's pick brings them some relief. As Secretary of State Jane Nelson gavels out her career, Governor Greg Abbott gaveling in his pick to replace her, his senior advisor and legislative director Robert Howden. Howden, a Texas Capitol veteran, has worked for several Republican governors.
I think having someone like Secretary Howden, who has years and decades in government, is just going to be a valuable resource.
Prior to Friday's announcement, Governor Abbott said whoever he picks has to ensure this fall's midterms run flawlessly.
And make sure that every vote cast counts, but that only legal votes are cast. And Texans deserve an election system they can have trust and confidence in.
Chris McGinn is the executive director of the Texas Association of County Election Officials, which represents county election officials across the state. He says they hope to meet with Howden in the coming weeks once he settles into the new job.
So we're excited to work with Secretary Howden and just get the ball rolling on preparing for the November election. It sneaks up on you quicker than you think.
Howden is taking over as Republicans in Texas and nationwide are focused on election integrity and the threat of voter fraud. In a primetime speech Thursday, President Donald Trump called the election system
so broken and so vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. It is not defensible.
McGinn says under outgoing Secretary of State Nelson, Texas has created one of the most robust election integrity systems in the country.
If that continues, we again will continue with successful elections across the state.
Nelson clashed with other Republicans over closing the primaries, which would require voters to register with a specific party in order to vote in the primary. The Texas GOP has filed a lawsuit over it. Under Nelson, Texas was one of a handful of states that gave the federal government access to the state's full voter rolls. The state also started using a federal database to verify voter citizenship. Critics say that system inflates non-citizen numbers because naturalized citizens might be wrongly flagged as non-citizens.
I also want to make sure that nobody who's not a citizen is trying to vote, which is against the law, by the way.
Howden is set to officially take office on Saturday. McGinn says he'll play a critical role in fostering trust in Texas's election system.
Texas will be in a good place going into the November election.
The Texas Senate is charged with confirming the governor's appointees. That will happen when state lawmakers return to Austin in January. Until then, Howden can serve without legislative approval. Jane Nelson was the first Secretary of State to get Senate approval since 2017. Her three immediate predecessors in the role all resigned before getting that Senate approval. In the studio, Daniel Perot, KVUE News.
Daniel, thank you. At the end of the month, Texas hemp shoppers will face tighter rules on what products they can illegally buy. Starting July 31st, products containing synthetic or semi-synthetic cannabinoids like Delta 8 THC and Delta 10 will be banned statewide. The change comes after the Texas Supreme Court upheld a state health rule from 2021 that defines legal hemp strictly by its Delta-9 THC content. So that means edibles and drinks with less than 0.3% Delta-9 remain legal, but smokable flower and products with other intoxicating variants will be pulled from the shelves. Retailers have been warned to clear out inventory before the deadline, ending a years-long legal battle over who controls the state's hemp market. Still ahead here on KVUE News at 5, deadly shootings involving ICE agents in Texas and Maine are forcing the agency to change how they conduct traffic stops.